Part 3 of the Final Fantasy VII Remake series was revealed at last as Final Fantasy VII Revelation, and its debut trailer is chock full of details just waiting to be explained. And here at GameXplain, that's what we do. I'm going to be going scene by scene through everything we've been shown so far to highlight all the details, both big and small, that you may have missed. Before we dive right in, it should go without saying that all analysis of this trailer will feature major spoilers for the original Final Fantasy VII on PS1, as I'll be comparing scenes from the trailer to their PS1 counterparts, all of which take place well into the story of Final Fantasy VII. I'd also like to include a spoiler warning for Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth, as I'll be covering scenes from the trailer that directly tie into the events of those games. Alright everyone, you've been warned, now let's mosey. Revelation's trailer starts with this ethereal space which fans may recognize as the Edge of Creation, seen at the end of Remake and Rebirth where Cloud and Sephiroth face off. In listening to the narrator in this scene, you might also recognize them not only from the original Final Fantasy VII Remake reveal way back in 2015,
Long ago, a shadow fell upon our planet. Long ago, we looked upon a foreboding sky.
but also as the voice of Guy Natak from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We then cut to hundreds of black-robed Sephiroth clones all reaching for Sephiroth, who is seemingly holding an unconscious Cloud in a heavenly area, very reminiscent of the site of the final showdown in the original Final Fantasy VII. While this could take place during the finale of the game, it's possible this could also be a new interpretation of the events that occur at the Northern Crater, given the gathering of black robes and Cloud's unconscious state. This would make sense as the next scene shows a direct recreation of the PS1 cutscene depicting the aftermath of the events at the Northern Crater, as the weapons rise from the planet with the diamond weapon clawing out of its cocoon in a shot-for-shot remake, followed by a close-up of the sapphire weapon and the ultimate weapon letting out a roar. We then see a shot of our party presumably having just passed through Gaia's Cliff and looking out onto the Whirlwind Maze, where a number of black robes are creeping towards their destination, which lines up perfectly with the segment from the original Final Fantasy VII on PS1 where you're running up the cliff following the black robes. After this, we're introduced to one of the biggest elements Revelation will introduce, the Highwind. One big difference from the original PS1 version when it comes to the Highwind is that rather than landing the ship on the world map, we'll now parachute off the deck in a very Fortnite fashion. The character acting here is as strong as ever in these animations, as we see Yuffie electing to flip off the ship, whereas Vincent remains as stoic as ever, taking a pencil dive down. This also isn't the first time we've seen the party parachute off the Highwind, as the raid on Midgar from the original Final Fantasy VII features a cutscene very reminiscent of this new mechanic. As Cloud jumps off the ship, we get a view of the area she's diving towards. Based on the location of key landmarks below, it appears this is the grassland region from Rebirth. When overlaying the Rebirth map, you can see that several of the cliffs, roads, rivers, and other landmarks match up exactly with the grasslands map. And you can even see what looks to be Bill's ranch, including the nearby tower. It's awesome to get confirmation that you can take the Highwind anywhere, and even drop in areas we explored in Rebirth to get to visit them all over again. Moving on, we see a gorgeous shot of Red 13 approaching what looks to be Midgar, followed by a shot of Yuffie running around her hometown of Wutai, where we can see a statue in the background that surely belongs to the Happy Turtle. It's great seeing the sense of scale Wutai's received in Revelation, with the surrounding mountains giving the town extra depth compared to the PS1 version's flat landscape. Next up, we stay in Wutai where we see our first look at Vincent Valentine in action, where he shows off his playstyle consisting of a mixture of close-range combat and long-range gunplay, as well as his ability to transform into his Galleon Beast form, which we got a taste of in our first encounter with Vincent in Rebirth. Following Vincent is our next new party member, Cid, who unleashes an absolutely wild-looking dragon, befitting of his role as a dragoon. This dragon is actually a reference to Cid's level 2 limit break in the original Final Fantasy VII, fittingly named Dragon, in which he calls forth a similar dragon spirit as he executes its move. We now move on to Revelation's second major change from the previous entries, the fit system, as we're shown Tifa and Cloud in new outfits that correspond to the jobs they are assigned. We'll touch more on that in a bit. This next scene is where things really get interesting, as we see a shot in what looks like Midgar, where Shinra troopers are fighting what looks to be one of the original weapons we saw in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. In contrast to their more whale-like appearance in those games, here they retain their signature huge materia at their core, while now having grown arms, legs, and a tail. These guys seemed big before, but they're on a whole new level now as we see one towering over Tifa as she tries to subdue it. Speaking of weapons, we get a look at another famous one next, being the Ruby weapon, seemingly stomping around the Corel region from Rebirth. This makes sense as the Ruby weapon is found in the same desert just outside of the Gold Saucer in the original Final Fantasy VII. We get one more look at the ultimate weapon, and then are greeted with a voice line from Sephiroth, who you may have noticed sounds a little different.
Let us put your faith to the test, Cloud.
Hamaguchi confirmed on a stream with Maximilian Dude that Travis Willingham will be replacing Tyler Hoechlin as Sephiroth's voice actor in Revelation, due to Hoechlin being unavailable to record for the role. Willingham is a massive voice actor who you may recognize from his roles as Roy Mustang in Full Metal Alchemist or Knuckles in the Sonic series from 2010 to 2018. This take on Sephiroth has a notably deeper voice and is definitely giving me Xemnas vibes from the Kingdom Hearts series. A couple quick Sephiroth flashes occur, and we are then greeted with the title drop. However, those flashes hide an interesting detail. Framing through them, we see one frame of Sephiroth holding what looks to be the white materia. This is not an event we've seen happen in the original or remake series so far, and could be a hint towards Sephiroth's end goal in Revelation, given his desire to change fate and defy destiny. Following the title drop, we get a quick scene of Cloud and the rest of the gang kneeling over some yellow lilies at the Forgotten Capital as whispers circle around them. While there's a few black whispers thrown in there, the majority of them appear to be white whispers. Again, we are covering remake series spoilers, so you've been warned. The yellow lilies and white whispers are a clear reference to Aerith, and the location being the Forgotten Capital could indicate this scene takes place shortly after her death. Aerith's death in Rebirth is a massively controversial plot point, as it differed in numerous ways to the original Final Fantasy VII and intentionally left players confused and full of questions. Could this clip be a tease that we may revisit the events of Rebirth's finale through unclouded eyes to get the closure us fans and Cloud desperately need? Only time will tell. The reveal trailer finally ends with one last fun Easter egg, as each episode of the remake trilogy is shown with a background that actually corresponds to the artwork from the cover and inside sleeve of the original PS1 game. It's an awesome touch that just speaks to the team's commitment to doing the original game justice. But don't think we're done that easy, because the reveal trailer was just the appetizer. Summer Games Fest treated us to multiple trailers diving into Revelation's story and gameplay, and we're going to explain them all. Our second trailer shows off some clips from the previous one, before transitioning into a new shot of Tifa watching meteor fall from what seems to be Junon. This likely takes place in the recovery room shortly after the events at the Northern Crater, as we see a similar cutscene with Barret revealing the meteor to Tifa. Shortly after, we get our first good look at Cloud and Sephiroth finally properly meeting at the Northern Crater, where Cloud is presumably about to hand over the black materia. We then get a better look at some of the details on the Highwind, including the text and a modern version of the pinup girl from the original PS1 version. After that, we get a good look at Cloud and Barret running around what looks to be a destroyed Mako reactor in Midgar. The party shares some fun banter and then leaps to the surface as we get our first look at how landing will look like when you dive off the Highwind. One cool detail you'll notice in this shot of Cloud and Barret on chocobos is that meteor appears to be visible at all times in the open world. This really adds to the sense of urgency the game conveys, being a constant reminder of the imminent danger the planet is in. It's a little tricky to nail down exactly when this next scene takes place, but given its inclusion of Reno, this helps us narrow it down. The scene most likely takes place in Sector 8 underground during the raid on Midgar shortly before the party takes on Rude, Reno, and Elena as part of their assault on the Shinra HQ. While the scenery appears to match that scenario, it's also possible this takes place during the party's encounter with Reno at the sunken Gelnica, as like in this clip, Reno runs into the party by himself there. The third act of the original Final Fantasy VII sees our party split up and rejoin multiple times, and these next few scenes could hint that this will continue in Revelation. Sid and Vincent are seen sneaking around what looks to be the port at Junon, and we also see our party without Cloud or Tifa, which may take place during the events of the Northern Crater, when both Cloud and Tifa are being shown visions by Sephiroth. Now it's time to move into the gameplay segment, where we get a look at some synergies, followed up by gameplay of Vincent showing his ability to shoot objects outside of battle. In battle is where things really get interesting for Vincent, as not only do we see his Galleon Beast transformation, we also see Sid's ability to ride on Vincent's back as part of their synergy attack. Remember that fit system we were talking about earlier? Well, now we're really diving in, as we get a look at Final Fantasy VII's take on the series' iconic job system. The job system debuted way back in Final Fantasy III and allowed players to change the archetype of their party members to fit certain gameplay styles. Jobs have been a staple of the series ever since the first Final Fantasy. However, only a few titles feature a job system which allows any party member to deviate from their default job. Like in some other Final Fantasies, we see the jobs alter the appearance of party members, as shown by this clip of what looks to be white mage versions of Cait Sith and Barret. Next, we get a look at how we can change our fits in the character menu, with Cloud swapping from the default Freelancer class to a new Warrior class. Interestingly, it doesn't appear that switching classes affects stats, as we see all of Cloud's stats remain the same even after switching. Also, did you notice this Easter egg in the shot of the party menu? Each of the character portraits are now based on the original artwork from the PS1 version of Final Fantasy VII, each posed in the exact same way. Moving on, we see Tifa as a black mage executing a powerful magic move not seen in her standard moveset. Based on the animation, this appears to be a new ability Tifa can execute in place of her usual moves like dive kick or overpower. We're then once again introduced to the weapon confrontation in Midgar, but this time we see some added gameplay showing different members of our party operating laser cannons used to shoot the weapon, meaning that stopping these titans will involve more than just a standard battle. Wrapping up this second trailer is a montage of shots, including Yuffie using her grappling hook on the rooftops of Wutai, Cait Sith summoning the hilarious fat chocobo from the original Final Fantasy VII Remake, and a first-person view of Tifa struggling to get out of handcuffs. This scene takes place in Junon as Tifa is trapped by Shinra and set to be executed by Scarlet. We get a couple more shots, including a look at a boss fight with Jenova that appears to be her death form fought in the Whirlwind Maze, followed by some exploration of Midgar that includes the water gliding chocobo we saw in the Nibel region. We see the Highwind fire a blast at the berry of what looks to be the ultimate weapon, Cloud is attacked by some black whispers which could take place at the northern crater, and a tease of the Sapphire weapon coming out of the harbor in Junon. Did I say tease? Well, let me fix that, because for some reason they followed that up with the full scene of the Sapphire weapon's assault on Junon. A lot of this has been faithfully reimagined from the FMV cutscene we got on the PS1. However, we get some new details like Heidegger freaking out, and we get to see just how destructive that blast from the Sapphire weapon was. And with that, we have covered all of the footage we have seen so far of Final Fantasy VII Revelation. Plenty of new details have come out ever since these trailers have dropped from Hamaguchi himself in various interviews, and we'll be sure to cover any new information or trailers in the future that drop for this game. The Final Fantasy VII Remake series has been an absolute roller coaster and a big dream at times, and it's crazy to get to see it reach this final chapter. I've been Zach Volpicelli. Be sure to subscribe to GameXplain for more details and analysis on Final Fantasy VII Revelation in the future. Ciao guys!